Now, I spoke to Democrat Congressman Krishnamoorthi, who serves on the House Committee on Intelligence, about Putin's comments and the weekend's developments in Russia. Congressman, great to have you back on the show. Thanks for joining us. If we look at what Russian President Vladimir Putin said in his address earlier today, he said all necessary steps were taken at the start of the mutiny, and it would have been suppressed anyways. You sit on the Intelligence Committee. Is that true? Was the Kremlin in control the entire time?
I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that one way or the other things were under control. It's really unusual for a military convoy to be traveling hundreds of miles down a highway unchallenged in Russia, and for them to have taken over the military headquarters at Rostov-on-Don just maybe betrays a little bit of the disingenuousness of Mr. Putin's statement.
What he also says is that he would keep his promise to allow those members of the Wagner group who wanted to go to Belarus. Do you think the instability that we witnessed over the weekend in Russia is over or just beginning?
I think it's still an unstable situation. I don't think this feud is over. I don't think that whatever understanding he announced the other day is somehow a resolution. On the one hand, Prigozhin sees Putin and the Ministry of Defense with blood on their hands because they did kill a number of Wagner Group mercenaries in Ukraine. And on the other hand, Prigozhin just staged a rebellion. And so I don't think that Putin is going to be viewed as the same strong person that he was a couple days ago today, because, Prigozhin is still alive and well. And I think that he has thousands of people in Russia who still pledge their loyalty to Prigozhin.
The EU's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, echoed your message today. He said that the rebellion is a sign that the Ukraine war is cracking Russia. Do you think that this is a window of opportunity for Ukraine's allies to capitalize, or do you worry that we could see the Russian president further consolidate power, maybe even escalate the conflict further?
Possibly. And so we have to monitor the situation very closely in concert with our allies and friends and partners. That being said, the Wagner forces were the most effective component of the Russian military forces in Ukraine. So to the extent that they are somehow disengaging from that conflict, weakens the overall effectiveness of the Russian military. And then secondly, Vladimir Putin is more focused on his own internal position. He's trying to stabilize that. And so in some ways, what has happened over the weekend distracts him from other matters. And so this could, again, provide an opening for Ukrainian forces to press any advantages that they might have on the battlefield.
So what should the West and the U.S. do if this is a window of opportunity?
I think that we should continue to monitor it closely, the situation closely, continue to provide intelligence to the Ukrainians with regard to the situation, and then continue to step up and help the Ukrainians in every way and take advantage of any opening this might provide. Although at the end of the day, this is not an easy situation in Ukraine for the Ukrainians to capitalize in a big way right now.
President Biden has been commenting today on what happened. This is what he said. Quote, "We had to make sure we gave Putin no excuse to blame this on the West or to blame this on NATO. We made clear that we were not involved. We had nothing to do with it. This was part of a struggle within the Russian system." Again, from sitting on the Intelligence Committee, did the U.S. anticipate this happening?
I can't get into classified information, but suffice it to say that there were noises for months, very public ones from Prigozhin about the feuding that was escalating in its tone and its tenor with Russian Defense Ministry officials, including Sergei Shoigu, as well as Chief of Staff Gerasimov of the Russian military. But the most kind of damning thing that Mr. Prigozhin said on Telegram the other day is that he questioned the motives behind the whole Russian invasion of Ukraine. He said that it was done for a profit motive. It wasn't somehow to liberate Russian-speaking people or Russian ethnic people in Ukraine. And that was perhaps maybe the most damaging thing that Mr. Prigozhin has done publicly and would suggest a big rift.
Okay, Congressman, I want to ask you about politics here in the U.S. as well. President Biden is touting his Bidenomics and infrastructure agenda this week. The administration announced $42 billion to expand high-speed internet access. Here's what he said about it. Quote, "It's not enough to have access. We need affordability in addition to access. That's why we worked with internet service providers to bring down prices for Americans struggling with internet payments. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's helping 19 million families save around $30 a month on their internet bills, and some save a lot more." Do you think this is enough to bring broadband to everyone by the president's goal, which is the year 2030?
I think it would be a very strong step in the right direction. We'll see if it's enough in the weeks and months to come. But basically what we learned during the pandemic is that, internet connectivity is almost like as important as running water or electricity. Children can't learn. People can't remote work unless they have a good internet connection. And so in rural areas and in urban areas where internet connectivity has been not what it should be, I think that this particular legislation, which was passed on a bipartisan basis, by the way, will make crucial investments to connect people to the World Wide Web.
What about where the president stands in all of this? He is, as I said, touting his economic agenda. But if you look at the polls, voters don't think the economy is doing very well. He's not very popular. Is his message working?
Well, remember, I think at the end of the day, they're not going to compare Joe Biden to the almighty. They'll compare him to the alternative. And so we'll see who his opponent is. But I think that when they make the comparisons and they look at what he has managed to pass and get signed into law, whether it's this bipartisan infrastructure deal or whether it's the bipartisan Chips and Science Act or the Inflation Reduction Act, as they see it getting implemented, hopefully they feel it in their everyday lives in terms of the beneficial impacts of those pieces of legislation. And so I'm hopeful that that track record combined with results will redound to the president's benefit.
Congressman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.